Hello, I'm your host, Shayna Weldon, and this is the Data Standard. We have a great guest today. Today, we're bringing you Stephen Drollinger, a director of data engineering at ICX Media. Welcome to the show, Stephen.
Thank you for having me. Yes, I am at ICX Media, and you can reach us at icxmedia.com if you are interested in knowing more about us. I'd like to explain what ICX does, what I do with ICX, some of my history. I think there's some anecdotes of me being in the military and how I got here that you guys might find interesting. So thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'm so excited to hear all of your stories. I guess to start off, what does ICX Media do?
Yeah, so ICX uses data from the world's leading social media platforms to identify audience segments for clients. These allow advertising companies to leverage real-time data and drive intelligence, activation, and monetization across the digital landscape.
Wow.
There's a little thing I have prepared for you guys. We can go into what that actually means, and I'm excited to do that.
Sounds great. I'll say, what exactly do you do at ICX Media?
Yeah, so I am a data engineer. We have a small team of about 10 people. We have a few data scientists and a few data engineers. In a short way, you could describe my job is productizing what the data scientists have made, the classifications. So my job is a lot of data ingestion, running through the transformations, and then outputting the data, whether it's to tables for the data scientists to further do analysis on, or for us to build reports that end up going to our clients.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned data scientist and data engineer. In your opinion, what is the difference between these two?
Yeah, so as I'm sure everybody, you can in the entire IT landscape, nitpick what it actually means. What it means for us is, frankly, I'm not that good at calc. I let the data scientists do the math and figure out the models. We are making their jobs easier. We're kind of glorified plumbers, if you will. So it's a lot about moving big data around, processing it, and turning it into reports. So what normally happens is I'll consult with the data scientists. They'll have some new cool classification that they want to test out. We want to deploy it and then start running data at volume through it, because they'll test on their own small stuff and figure the initial stuff out, but then we have to productionize it. I don't even know if that's a word.
It is now.
Yeah.
Okay. How did you get to where you are today? Let's hear the journey, like the background story.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I have not done the typical go to college, maybe an internship, and then get hired by a big company. I've taken a lot longer to get here. Frankly, it's taken me 11 years to get my bachelor's, but it's because I started with a business admin degree and then changed it a couple of times and ended up getting my computer science degree, trying to figure out how to pay for it. So joining the military and then going full-time military, part-time degree, and leading me to make some silly decisions, like trying to take calculus in Iraq. And that was a terrible idea.
How did that work?
Yeah, it doesn't. So like, oh yeah, you're gonna be in there doing stuff 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm like, well, I have a few more hours, might as well knock out another class, right? Because I'll be done sooner.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, after 12 hours looking at my book and like, it's just not clicking. I can't do this. I'm gonna have to retake it.
Okay,
yeah.
How long did you try to learn calculus in the military?
Oh man. So I took Calc 1 and 2 both twice, if that tells you anything. One time I have an excuse for. The other times we all have our strengths. So a full year, because they go on top of each other and having to take it twice. It took me a year.
Wow.
But I've learned perseverance, right? If you just commit time, you will get it done eventually. Like failing a class is fine. Doesn't mean you can't complete the degree.
Yeah, that is 100% right. Yeah, I think if anything, although it's a funny story, I think it shows your dedication and commitment to actual learning. You had a goal and you accomplished it, no matter how long it took, no matter where you were, even if you're in the desert. Yep.
Exactly. I'm a big goal person. It kind of blows my mind how little people have goals, but I've always had one. Like, my first job was to buy my computer, and it took me weeks at minimum wage, right, to save up enough money to get my first Dell. And ever since then, I've been enthralled with computers and networking and trying to eventually figure out programming, and which ultimately led me to where I am now. I even tried to do, I had a little home business when I was 18. I had an EIN and everything, where I tried to do home PC helper. Because if Best Buy can charge $99 an hour to fix your computer there, instead of me making 12 bucks an hour at Domino's, I could charge 40 to come to your house and fix it. Why not?
I love this. I love this mindset. You know, I like that, really. Starting at the young age.
Then,
wow.
Yeah. So after that, I would say I moved into the military. And the military has taught me a lot of interesting life experiences. It's really about the people. So as I grow as an individual and learn more and be around good people, it's all about attitude and asking the right questions. I want to be around the person that's asking those annoying questions because it's the right question and it's exposing all the problems, versus, oh, everything's good, like la la la.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I think those types of questions are hard. I don't know. I think in society it's difficult to ask those hard questions because they're controversial, negative feelings come in. But those are the questions that actually drive action and change.
Yeah, exactly. I think we get caught up in, I'm a professional person, but there's also, like, if you go too professional, you put that mask on, you don't get that rapport building. And without that, how do you effectively manage somebody without truly understanding what's going on with them, what's going on with you, how do you move forward, stuff like that. And that's the thing I'm constantly trying to work on, trying to improve.
Wow. Okay, so you say you learned, like, people is the biggest lesson you learned while serving. What does that mean though? Like, what did you learn about people?
Oh man. First impressions are not always right. I met, I'm not gonna name him, but a coworker, one of the first times I met him, and I was fresh on base, not very good at football, but I caught the ball, I was so excited, I turned around and he's right in front of me, and I literally run into him and bounce off and fall down. And he's like, "Welcome to the mint," expletive. And then I was like, oh, okay. But then later on, like weeks later, he's the coolest guy. He would help you at any time, right?
Wow.
It is about the people. If you can get somebody who's excited about what they're doing, interested, engaged, you're unstoppable. I think with a group of like 10 people, you can do anything. It's just a matter of how long.
Yeah.
And so to equate that into ICX and my love for small companies, I love small companies because there's a wide range of problems that need to be solved. And frankly, you're hardly ever going to solve a problem perfectly. But if you're willing to put effort in and make it better, you can make it work, right? Identifying, like, I'd like to give a small story.
Go for it.
So when I joined ICX, we had, they'd been building a product to do one thing, didn't work, business shifted focus. So then we tried to have that, it had good data that it was ingesting. It was our ingestion pipeline, but it was slow and it had duplicates because it was built for one thing, but we needed it for another. So at some point we need to rewrite it, but that's a hard sell. Having to rewrite something is a hard sell. So we've been trying to make it work, make it better, but in the end, we're rewriting it in the longer term anyway. But we still have to provide business value because the business has to keep going. It's a terrible problem in that it would be faster if we just rewrote it and took the time to do that, but the business won't continue if you do that.
Okay. Yeah. That's interesting. It sounds like a lose-lose, sadly. Or what do you think?
Well, so I think framing is important, right? Yeah. Sure, as long as you can express those trade-offs and that the people that are making the decisions understand it and they're on board, then you don't have a problem. It's just a matter of timing.
Okay. What's the biggest current problem that you face?
There's so much work to be done. I would love to hire people, but we don't necessarily have the budget for it. We're growing, but we can't get the people fast enough, right? It's hard to find qualified people in the very specific thing you want to do. One great thing about the IT field is you can become very focused and very good, or you can be a generalist. They both have their pros and cons. I've brought people on that, frankly, if you're coachable, that's what I'm looking for, right? Is somebody willing to learn? That's the big. If somebody tells me they're willing to learn and they showed the stuff that they've learned so far, we can go from there.
I love that. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, adaptable and able to change.
Yeah.
I guess at the end, we'll talk about how our viewers can connect with you and your company.
Yeah.
So about your company, there's an acronym, ETL, in data science, stands for extract, transform, and load. And it's used to blend data. So what ETL acronym do you use for data engineering though?
Yeah, so ETL is a fundamental thing for computer science. For us in data engineering, I modify that and say ingestion, transformation, and data organization. So how do we, across our social media platforms, ingest that data, use our quota, and then process it in the transform phase? And then the data organization phase being, for us, it's in BigQuery. We do tables, we hand it over to the data scientists. And then on the other side of that is building reports. We end up selling that primarily to our customers. But what I'm more interested in is building classifications as a service. I want to have an API approach. So this is my current challenge that I'm giving my team, is an API first approach where everything that we make should be an API and be callable by anybody in the company. We should get that working internally, tested, and then hopefully next year we can expose it to the world and start selling it. And that excites me. It's product building, right? My question always to a company is, how can I add the most value? Because frankly, if I add a lot of value and become invaluable, then you become valuable.
Yeah. Wow. What's a specific current project that you're working on? That you can talk about.
Good question. I have some code that contractors have written that was kicked off before I was at the company and solved some of our problems. But if I was involved in the statement of work, I would have had be a little different. But it doesn't mean it's not workable, right? I know some people are very anti-contractors where they're just in and out to make a buck, right? But if you have a limited small team like I do, it's a valuable resource to be like, hey, we can pay you a fixed fee and you guys can go and make this for us, and all we have to do is sign off on it. It's not the funnest thing, but it's work that can get done. So ingesting, like having that work done, understanding what they've made, and then improving on it is the stuff I'm working on now. So they've built some form of an API, but I need to modify that and purpose it better for what we're going to go forward to do. That's yeah.
Okay.
It sounds super high level. Like now that after saying that, yeah, I don't know how specific I can or want to get.
Okay, that's totally fine. Yes, I'm trying to understand as you speak.
Yeah.
Where do you see? Oh yeah.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, where do you see the data science industry going? Like, where do you see your company going?
Yeah. So for us, we're trying to explore more. So we're a heavy GCP shop. We're exploring what product offerings they have to make our lives easier instead of having to reinvent the wheel every time. So we're exploring the Auto ML, BigQuery ML, and the AI platform. We're trying to see if that will be useful for us. But if you want any specifics for the technical details, I would have to defer you to Jodica, our awesome data scientist. Maybe she can come on the show sometime.
Maybe we'll speak in the future.
Yeah.
So regarding, I think you mentioned Auto ML, is that automated machine learning?
I believe it is. I've only started to look into it.
Okay, I was gonna say, where do you see that playing a part in your company?
Yeah, so we get tens of millions of records a day, right? And we have to do the transform part, right? So how do we put the data through the transformations, the classifications, in an efficient and timely manner? What's great about the cloud is you can scale way up. The AutoML, I'm interested in it being fewer clicks, fewer integration hassles than building our own custom thing. The way we do it now is they write it in Python. Python has the global interpreter lock problem. So I basically wrap that in a container and put it in Cloud Run, and then can call it concurrently. Since it's a asymmetric problem, we can run hundreds or even thousands of containers in the cloud and then just keep firing stuff at it. So that's cool, but it would be better if I could just have upload some package, the scikit-learn model, into a platform that Google manages, and then just automatically have an API to call.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I know before you mentioned how you need more people on your team. And so as the viewers listen to this, how can they reach you? And how can they be part of your team?
Oh yeah, so we have a website, icxmedia.com. We are hiring generally. We are interested in individuals who like data science, that like data engineering. Hopefully by the time this goes out, there will be data science positions on there. I can't promise that, but I know we are, as the leads, we're very interested in hiring more people. It's a question of, is the business ready? And business is picking up. COVID is hopefully coming to a close, depending on the Delta variant. And so advertisers are interested in figuring out who their customers are. And that's largely what we do. I know I said earlier I was going to go into more detail in exactly. So we crawl social media platforms like YouTube, Twitter. If you say comment, let's take a token example. If a new movie is coming out and there's a trailer, and you post on the trailer like, oh man, this looks great, I like the last one, I hope the new one's good, we would derive sentiment off of that and say, yeah, this person is interested in the movie. They should know when it comes out, or maybe they should have advertising, or maybe it's a car, a vehicle of some kind. Oh man, this looks awesome. I want that new Tesla Cybertruck. Looks indestructible except the glass. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what we try to find. And in the advertising landscape is changing in a more privacy manner, that you can't track cookies very well. That is not what we do. And I would like to say at ICX Media, scraping is a bad word. We do not do that. We have agreements with the companies that we work with, and we follow the terms and services. And sometimes it's a pain, but it's the right thing to do, and I'm glad we do it that way. And frankly, if we didn't do it that way, I don't think half of the people in the company would work there.
I love that. The integrity.
Yeah. I'm happy to go over any other stories of my past that you would find interesting.
Please share. Anything specific you want to talk about?
Well, I've had the privilege of working for an intelligence agency in a war zone, and it is fun and scary and dirty. So I'm just going to go into story mode now. So yeah, we were at the end of Iraq, and there was a problem of, we have all this equipment. What if we have to leave very quickly? We can't realistically get it out of there. And it's very classified equipment. So it needs to be destroyed, right? And I remember asking this question, and they were like, oh yeah, we're implementing a plan for that. And not even a couple of weeks later, there were thermite grenades on top of the server racks. I don't know if you know what thermite is. Yeah. But it's meant to like chew through metal, and it would just melt all the way through all the servers. And I was like, wow, I don't really want to be in this room.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. The other cool things I got to do was travel around with So VIPs get very interesting special treatment in war zones. So while I was there, Mike Pompeo visited the embassy, the Iraq embassy. And, you know, it's always not exactly known when they'll show up for security reasons, but I knew when he was there because there were 2 Apache helicopters flying above the embassy constantly.
What?
And I was asking people about that. They're like, oh yeah, because if they launch some mortars or something, a rocket, they want to immediately fire in that position so they can't launch a second one.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, wow, this guy is so important. There's 2 helicopters constantly flying above him.
2,
Holy
not
cow.
just 1.
Not just 1, there's 2.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. And then other like fun anecdotes. So I was in the Air Force, but since I was working for an intelligence agency, I was not in uniform. And I was at the embassy and I see like 4 cars roll up right next to the building. And I'm like about to walk in the door. And this clearly a 3-star general comes and walks up and he's like gonna talk to me. I'm like, oh no, I messed up. What did I mess up? And he's just like walking in to go give another thing. It totally wasn't about me. But you know, when a 3-star general is walking up towards you, you're like, what did I do? But then it turns out he goes in there and he's giving an award for somebody doing some great work that I didn't know about, right? They're all doing stuff out there that making the warfighter succeed.
Okay. Wait, what exactly were you working on when you were serving? You're in the technology department, you said?
Yeah, so I was a network engineer, basically giving internet to the warfighter. So we had a fiber line that would give internet. And so part of our job was the crypto machines, making sure that they actually were decrypting and encrypting correctly. And then after that, having to give internet out to the rest of the country. So we were the main POP where it would come into country and then we would disseminate from there. So we would have the main internet come in and we would have line of sight microwaves to other sites that are like 10 miles away, because we can't reliably put infrastructure down with bombs going off all the time.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, and you mentioned decrypt. What was the word again?
Encrypting and decrypting, yeah. So
Okay.
we had a machine, we'll call it, that encrypts and decrypts, and it has to be on both ends. It's like a VPN concentrator, if anybody in here, I don't want to lose your audience very much, but
You're not losing me. What does it mean to like decrypt or crypt? What does that mean?
So like when you go to a website, like a banking website and say HTTPS, you know, that is encrypted.
Okay.
Think of that, but there's a dedicated piece of hardware that does it really, really fast at like 1 gig or 10 gig speeds. But they're a little finicky due to security reasons that you have to do it just right. And then after that, there's the problem of distribution. So we'd have to like, the main line would come in, and then we would disseminate it. But for the stuff locally, we'd have to decrypt it so that we could use it internally. Because at an intelligence community, everything's encrypted, and then if you're out of country, it's like encrypted again. There's so many levels that you're like, it's garbage in, garbage out, but it's not garbage out, it's just another encryption. So it's hard to tell when it's working properly because everything's encrypted.
I'm following what you're saying. I have like a map in my head. What's going on here?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then after that, I got to work on a firewall team, and part of it was, again, the encryption stuff. I would have Marines call and be like, hey, I'm trying to set this up, and, you know, God bless them. They're in a war zone trying to give internet to their guys in the local area, and oftentimes they weren't either trained the best, or, you know, it's a chaotic situation, and I'd have to walk them through like, plug it into here, plug this in, and then check our end if everything was working properly. And be like, yep, I see it, everything's going through. And they would be so thankful. I had coworkers that are like, another Marine's calling, and I have to try to figure it out. For me, it was like, I was there. I know what it's like. I'm totally happy to walk you through for 5-10 minutes and set it up, because I know what it means on the other end.
Wow. I wish more people were like that. Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, really. I'm not even the Marine, and I appreciate what you did for that Marine. Yeah. Okay. Anything else that you did?
I would say one other cool thing that I have gotten the ability to do was go to a remote site on a helicopter ride. And I got to do the whole like sitting on the edge, my feet like hanging, buckled in. That was a lot of fun. Taking we call it a shoebox in the Air Force when the Army flies the planes. Many people don't know this, but the Army does have planes, but they're like small and non-pressurized. They don't go that high. So we did a night flight and these guys are literally wearing like night vision goggles as they fly the plane. And I was like, this is so cool. Yeah. And then
the way Army has planes.
Yeah. And then on the way back, so I have, TS gear with me, and rule number 1, it can't leave your side. Like it has to be under my control at all times.
What does TS mean?
Top secret.
Okay.
So when on the way back, I have a switch. So one of the things that the Intel community is like, if it ever processes TS stuff, it's considered TS, which as a network engineer is silly because it's just sending packets, but technically it's true. So I have to go back and bring the switch back, and they're like, oh, you're not on the manifest, just your equipment is. They're like, oh, we can get you on the next plane and you meet your equipment. I was like, no, that's not going to work. And I had been given, and this was like a weird thing to implement. Before I left, we have a logistics guy who gave me a piece of paper with a phone number on it. He's like, if anybody in the logistics realm gives you a problem, tell them to call this number. And I was like, okay. I'm so glad he did that, because while this was happening, I was like, I can't do that. And I was like, I've been told to give you this number to call. The person behind the desk was like, okay. And then they start talking, and then you can see their face change. They're talking to somebody important, and they're like, make it happen. And then they literally on the phone call the plane as it's about to land, and I can hear the captain, because it's going from a phone to like VHF that they're talking on the thing. And I hear the captain that's like, what's the problem? Oh yeah, we have his stuff. Yeah, I got space for him. Just put him on the plane. I don't care. I was like, yes.
What crazy stories that you can share. Wow.
Yeah. But so like, again, all about the people, right? So I come full circle, like, hey, people that want to make the mission happen and understand the importance. If I have a person that is working with me and they aren't either motivated or wanting to do something, I feel like you don't understand what we're trying to do here. And if you don't like your job and you don't want to do it, well, the great thing about working in corporate America is you don't have to work here. Unlike the military, where it's like, well, you got to make it work.
That's true. I feel when you have to make it work with that mindset, you then figure out a way to make it work.
Yeah.
Also, the beauty of not having to make it work is that you don't have to be there if you don't like it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And everybody, I'm assuming on this podcast, is in a very in-demand field. So like, if you don't like what you're doing at a particular company, come to ICX, talk to me. Yeah.
Come to ICX. Okay, then how can they specifically find you? What is your LinkedIn?
So my first last name, Stephen Drollinger, LinkedIn. Yeah, please reach out. I'm happy to engage and answer any technical questions. I've tried to keep this kind of high level and more fun. If you guys are more interested in the technical aspect of what we do, I'm happy to discuss any portions of that.
Yeah, great. I guess real quick, what is a technical aspect that you can talk about your company?
Anything like, I'm learning a lot about Cloud Run and how that works. If you have data science-y questions, I would be happy to refer you to Jodica or me ask any of the specific ones that I can. Yeah, scaling. I like scaling. That is an interesting problem set to me, and the cloud allows us to do it. So if anybody has like, how do we do this at scale? How do you productize a thing? It's going to be a lot of boring, like, oh, make sure you do error handling correctly. Make sure you do this, set it up like that, right? But some of that stuff fascinates me. When I can finally make 150 or 500 computers do the workload that I just set out to go do is cool. As a programmer through school, I remember being like, how in the world are you going to have a problem that my one little laptop, I can't wait to have a problem that my one little machine would take too long to solve. And now dealing with big data, I get to have those kinds of problems and figure out those solutions for. And that excites me. I'm growing my knowledge of how to do more and more. Because the one thing I love about computers is I say my job is to get the computer to do work.
That's there you go.
There you go.
The goal is to get your computer to do the work. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much again for sharing your stories and your insight about data, and also hearing about your background and what you learned.
Yeah, I would like to say there's not one path. You don't have to like, oh, I didn't make it into my first job and whatever. There's many paths to get where you want to go. Set the goal, and if you keep working towards it, I'm sure you'll get it eventually.
All right. I think there's a quote by Babe Ruth, because it's hard to beat someone that never gives up. Yeah.
I love that.
There you go.
I really like that. I'm going to use that.
Frame it on your wall. Yeah. All right. Well, for more information on a data standard, you can find us at www.datastandard.io. This episode was also sponsored by Pandio. They're innovating the tech space. You can find them at pandio.com. But once again, Stephen, thank you so much again. I appreciate your time, all the energy that you put in this conversation. Thank you for being so exciting and for being so personable. And I just appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. I hope you guys enjoyed it.